What's the last straw that made you go, yep, that person is definitely crazy? I was a personal assistant for a woman who was extremely lawyer happy, meaning she always was looking for ways to sue people. I accompanied her while she picked her child up from daycare one day. She parked in a no parking zone that most parents use as a car line to pick up their older kids, and a dad of another child came over and calmly asked her to please move her car so that the car line could keep moving. He was completely cool about it. My boss ranted all the way home about how the man made her feel unsafe and threatened and that she'd be contacting her lawyer so she could sue him for emotional distress. No clue how she went about that, since I quit shortly after. And yes, she threatened to sue me when I quit. I had an extremely clingy friend that texted and tried to call me 50 million times a day. Well, I was having a really shitty day and I wasn't in the mood to converse with her at all and just ignored her. She called the police and told them she thought I had committed suicide. That was fun. I knew beforehand, but when my son's mom sent a text message to me threatening to kill my son while he was with her, I now have full custody. When my druggy college roommate tried to piss off the girls living in the dorm room next to us by banging his head on the wall constantly to piss them off with the noise, I still don't even know why he hated them. He just did. A man came into the bar I work at. He's a semi-regular and is quite energetic but harmless. Everything was as normal. He drank his small Sauvignon Blanc and left. This is where it gets weird. He came back in a couple of hours later and I asked him if he'd like the same wine he had last time. He stared at me, dead-eyed and completely silent for maybe 30 seconds before laughing. He went on to tell me that I must be confusing him for his twin brother and that in fact his brother was from Earth, but he is from another planet and there couldn't possibly be anything suitable for him to drink in our bar because his digestive system is completely different from ours. This went on for a while. He eventually left and came back in an hour or so later, had a glass of wine, and left again. He's perfectly nice and respectful, so isn't a problem, and there's a whole community of people looking out for him, but he's definitely crazy. My brother started dating this girl, and I thought she was a little clingy and insecure, but I chalked it up to being a little nervous around her new boyfriend's family. However, she had been with my brother for less than 6 months when I got engaged. In a conversation about wedding dates, I said I wanted to get married in October. She immediately got upset and started crying to my brother. She didn't want me to steal her dream wedding date, and she told me that the entire month of October was off limits. She expected my brother to propose to her and they'd get married that year. Yep, she cray. Luckily my brother eventually realized she was a little unhinged and dumped her ass, and I had my wedding in October. Take that. I was at a Halloween party several years ago with a secondary/tertiary friend group. You know the kind. I was kinda friends with some of them, only barely knew others. But it was a costume party and I didn't have anywhere else to be, so I went. There was a guy who was near to the center of said group that was always a little lucky. Everyone called him Prison Bear, quote his name, because he had been to prison. I had run into him a few years before, when I was maybe 14, and he offered me $20 to show him my tits. He was at least 20 at that time. Real class act. Well, during the party he pulls out a loaded fucking gun and starts waving it around saying he could end it all right there or send it. 2 guys managed to get it from him. Now he's pissed and running around the house yelling. A 3rd guy steps in and decides to break down the gun. So like one guy has all the bullets and one guy gets the actual gun. Someone else took the clip. No one else reacted. They were just like whelp. Typical prison name behavior. So that's the day I decided that entire circle was batshit crazy. My ex calling the cops on me because she thought I was trying to poison her. I bought salted butter instead of unsalted. My flatmate's ex got drunk and mad at him for reasons unknown. She vomited into a bucket, then stared him in the eye and tipped it all over our lounge floor. Then she tried to throw pizza she chewed up and spat into her hand, missed him and hit someone else. then put her hand through our window, as in she literally broke the window by shoving her arm through it and smeared the blood all over the walls and floor, all the while saying pathetic shit about him and being a general This was all in the space of about an hour at 11 AM. The relationship didn't last long after that. She continued to blackmail him after they broke up. Definitely had some issues, I think. My husband's cousin is the only female in the family that is around my age, so when we used to go to family functions I tended to hang out with her. Our friendship blossomed and she was who I considered to be my best friend. We both had 3 kids and they all loved each other, so we just spent a lot of time together. My husband always told me she was crazy, that she would turn on me, but I just thought they grew up together and had some weird kind of sibling rivalry kind of thing going on. Her ex-husband hated her. Court cases for custody were happening all the time. It was nasty. They weren't allowed to be in the same room together per court order even. I only heard her side of the story, so I, of course, just assumed it was him. That was horrible. Fast forward a few years, she is remarried and has a new baby with her new husband. She's an interior decorator and has always been struggling financially, but somehow all of a sudden she is buying all the things. New iPods for all the kids, including mine, gaming laptop for her oldest, furniture, electronics. She pays a year of rent, so she won't have to think about it while I'm over there, because I'm now an approved supervisor for the supervised visitation her ex-husband has imposed through the court. She starts screaming at her new husband for not loading the dishwasher correctly and pushes him fully, with real force, down the stairs. He somehow manages to be okay, but she doesn't stop. Runs after him with clear plans to attack. The guy has to literally flee his own home. I packed up the 3 older kids and my kids and got out of there. I didn't report it because she guilted me into thinking she had PPD and would be fine. One Valentine's Day she decides she wants to have a party for the kids. The time didn't work out for me, so I told her we couldn't attend. She lost her shit and called me every name she could think of. She took things I had said to her in confidence and told her whole family. I got pages and pages of scathing emails. I was crushed. 5 years later she remarried again and had 2 more babies with a new guy. She called DCF on her 15-year-old son claiming he sexually molested her 2-year-old daughter. Had zero evidence, but decided because she was acting weird that this must have been what happened. After a heated altercation with new guy, where police were called, she now has lost custody of all 6 kids and begs me to come to court to be a character witness. When she literally tried to break my wrist at a party for not high-fiving her. Alcohol is like a steroid for crazy. Wrist hurts just thinking about it. I think she did jiu-jitsu or something because damn. Ow. I was on a date with this guy. He acted rude towards the waiter, the entire restaurant, and was only interested in sex. The thing that made me say that he was crazy was when he brought up the fact that he enjoyed staring at dead bodies because it aroused him. What's even worse is that he worked at a morgue. My brother's ex-wife once went batshit, screaming and yelling, threatening to set her hair on fire and cut herself because her own baby was getting more attention than her. One of my co-workers, a middle-aged woman whom we'll call Karen. Definitely not my favorite person to talk to and or work with, as our personalities and political views always seem to be complete opposites of each other. Karen makes these completely irrelevant, irrational, and extreme statements out of the blue all the time, often notably just to disagree with me or one of the many other people that she can't get along with. Another co-worker's cat died some time ago, and after autopsy it appeared that the cat ate a poisoned sponge. You'll often hear about cat or dog haters that poison snacks and scatter them around here in the Netherlands. That co-worker obviously had a hard time coping with the death of his cat, and while we were talking about it with a group of co-workers, Karen barges in and says that she can completely understand why people poison cats or dogs, because she can't stand the fact that cats come in her backyard and shit there. She even stated that she'd do it too. Yup, ever since then I know she's crazy. Months after going on a single date with a woman, she calls me on Christmas Eve while I'm at work to introduce me to her family over the phone as her boyfriend. The one date we had was dinner at a restaurant. She didn't order anything, just kept eating my fries and then watching TV back at her place. Nothing physical happened and the date ended with a handshake. When I responded that we were not a couple, she started freaking out and crying about how horrible I was for breaking up with her on Christmas Eve. Not too extreme, but I had a coworker that regularly talked about how so many of her friends have screwed her over in the past. At first I believed her and felt bad, until she told us what her latest ex-friend did, after basically calling him every name in the book, of course. She and her husband decided one day to replace their furniture. This was a spur of the moment decision, and since they didn't have a truck to move their stuff, they texted their friend to see if said friend could help them, along with friend's truck. Friend said no, can't do, I'm busy today. Crazy bitch showed up at his house and flipped out when she saw that he was home relaxing. That's how entitled she thought she was to his vehicle and his time. She screamed about every single thing she had ever done for him. Petty shit like bought you a soda when you forgot your wallet. Cops had to be called. From then on out I was careful not to accept any favors from her, because I'm 98% sure the only reason she would ever do a nice thing is to throw it back in your face when you have to tell her no. Like she used to give one of our coworkers a ride home, and I witnessed this coworker on multiple occasions offer gas money, pay for her lunch, etc. as a thank you. She always declined with I'm going that way anyway, until one day coworker pissed her off, so she ran around telling everyone that coworker was a mooch and never once paid gas money. IDK, maybe this is more manipulative than crazy, but she was always so miserable, so it's not like she was even getting what she wanted at the end of the day, so I consider it some kind of crazy. When he told me he's a werewolf. I worked at a gas station when I was in high school. Every day around the same time for a couple months this really cute guy would come in for the restroom and head out. Eventually, I started being friendlier and he'd stop for a second to chat, and eventually he'd ask if I'd like to hear a poem. I'd gush about how great it was and he'd go about his way. This guy was gorgeous, so that clouded my judgment. His poems made no sense and got weirder as time went on. My coworker slash BFF urged me to stop being so friendly as he gave her the creeps. I, being 15 and boy crazy, ignored this. This went on for months until one day he ran in with his hair in pigtails and cat type whiskers drawn on his face and locked himself in the bathroom for over an hour. I knocked on the door several times and heard him talking, as if on the phone. This was pre-cell phones being normal. I had a pager. Finally he busts out clutching a half-dissolved urinal cake up to his ear and says, "Someone left me a clue. I finally found it. Farewell." He ran away down the street and we never saw him again. Yeah, so not an eccentric poet. Searches the responses to see if I've been outed.